We have breaking news on News 12. I'm John Henry Smith. Police say they've responded to reports of shots fired at Bronx Lebanon Hospital. FDNY officials confirm they responded to an active situation at Bronx Lebanon Hospital. That's all they will tell us right now, but witnesses say they heard shots fired at the facility. Again, Bronx Lebanon Hospital on Grand Concourse in the Bronx. Witnesses say they saw people coming out of the hospital. Now, we have a crew headed to the scene, and we'll bring you the very latest on this breaking story when we have it. I'm John Henry Smith, and this has been a breaking news report. We return now to more hyperlocal news and weather as News 12 continues.
There was a lockdown and they're still inside, and you could see them kind of staring out at the window, perhaps curious about what's going on outside of the building.
Amy, again, we're getting word from the NYPD that one shooter is dead. To the best of your knowledge, what are you hearing? Does anyone there believe there are more than one shooter out there? One thing I understand about this hospital, I mean, it's 16, 17 floors, so I mean, you're talking hundreds of patients, you're talking so many support personnel, doctors, nurses, so this is certainly a situation that affected a great many people.
Of course, and we could see those chilling almost images of everything.
Understand, killed himself. We are getting a report now that at least one other person in this situation has died. Let's go back to Amy Rodriguez, who I believe spoke with somebody on the ground there moments ago. Can you tell what's happening with the most serious patients? Because I imagine there were people undergoing fairly serious procedures when this thing happened.
Field a rifle before opening fire, killing at least one individual before he killed himself. Again, that's the individual that police have confirmed to us was the gunman.
And of course, this opens us up to more questions. He was wearing a white lab coat. Was he a doctor? Or was he a disgruntled former patient or a disgruntled member of staff, an employee who disguised himself in a white coat? These are details we still have to flesh out. We don't know them at this time.
And of course, the biggest question of them all, what would drive an individual to walk into a hospital dressed, appearing to be a doctor,
well, police sources are now confirming, we are hearing, police sources are confirming that it is Dr. Henry Bello, that Henry Bello was indeed a doctor, 45 years old, so it would not have been abnormal to see Dr. Henry Bello in that facility wearing a lab coat. Perhaps another reason why he did not arouse suspicion until he did what he ultimately did.
The question still remains, what exactly was his affiliation with the Bronx situation? We're still waiting on that press conference from officials who hopefully will be able to answer a few more of those questions.
To detectives, as soon as people come out of the building, as you can see, a lot of nurses are coming out. They're being stopped by police officers. They're trying to gather as much information that could perhaps let them know, who this man was.
Well, we want to make sure you have the latest information we have. Again, this gentleman who did the shooting apparently has been identified by police as Dr. Henry Bello, 45 years old. We'd be very curious to know if anyone there knew Dr. Henry Bello and what they could tell us about Dr. Henry Bello.
White lab coat and with a rifle underneath.
Well, we've heard no other indications that there was more than this gunman, although we certainly haven't had definitive confirmation from anyone that there aren't more, but from all that we're hearing, it appears that this Dr. Henry Bello appears to be the gunman who perpetrated this crime at Bronx Lebanon Hospital. You mentioned earlier that that the fire alarm went off and possibly started the response. Well, we've heard the term fire bandied about in this whole situation. Clear it up for us. Was there ever a fire?
So I have heard from multiple people that the fire alarms were going off. I also heard that in addition to the fire alarms, well, of course, the gunshots, the fire alarms were going off on multiple floors. I'm not sure if the shooter was setting fires.
Although Catherine said that there seemed to be access for people who lived
on Mount Eden Parkway at least.
Exactly.
Right. So it appears that at least some people who live in the area are able to access their homes, and certainly their life is turned upside down right now, but at least there are a few who can get to their homes this evening. Of course, and you mentioned it earlier, I mean, this is after working hours. It's 5:25 Eastern Time right now. And a lot of people are coming home and getting off of work for the day. You would imagine they would have heard about this situation by now, but certainly being able to navigate that if you need to be in that area, very difficult situation for those people.
And this is not something that is being talked about only here regionally in the city. This is a national story.
Certainly.
The FBI actually just tweeting out that at this time there is no connection to terrorism in this incident.
Which is something we hear every time now, it seems, when there's a situation
right,
like
that they have to investigate and make sure that that is not the connection. I mean, even overseas, every time something happens there, that's the first question on everybody's mind. But at least in this incident, the FBI is saying that there is no connection to terrorism
from the hospital manager.
Got to go right now. Mayor Bill de Blasio is about to address the media. Let's listen in. A few shocking details that they relayed just now, including the fact that there's been debate about whether or not there was a fire. The police commissioner, James O'Neill, confirms that there was a fire along with the shooting, and that the fire was actually the gunman setting himself on fire before putting the gun to his head and shooting himself and ending his own life. So many details.
Absolutely. They also tell us that this all started to unfold just 5 minutes before 3 p.m. That's when they received a phone call alerting to them about a male firing a gun on the 16th floor. That's another answer to one of the questions we've been having. Right now, several doctors are fighting for their lives.
Yeah, he said there was one gunshot wound that was more superficial in nature, a gunshot to the leg, but then that the other doctors, and I'm assuming, I don't want to say doctors, but the other people who were shot at this time are all fighting for their lives, and we certainly send them Godspeed.